Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Redeemed Marriage Podcast. This is Rusty and Heather Bryant. And we're glad to be back with you today. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to be continuing our series on marriage killers. And today we're going to be talking about selfishness. And so I'd love to continue what we've been talking about on ways that you can destroy your marriage.
I don't like this title because it's like we're saying, this is how you can destroy it.
Listen up, folks. Tune in.
I don't like it. No, it is, man, I had it just right and you messed it up. These things will kill your marriage. That's what we need to say. Not do these things if you want your marriage to die.
But if somebody's listening out there and they're like, I want to kill my marriage, I have come to the right place.
That's right. Yeah, you have it. Because we're going to tell you why selfishness is not good for your marriage.
But it will kill, and it will kill your marriage.
It will. It will definitely kill your marriage.
I think these marriage killers that we've been talking about, it's really everybody knows our story, that our story is infidelity, and those kind of things, infidelity, pornography, broken trust through different means. Those are all ways that people recognize, okay, these are the things that if this happens, our marriage is done. And we're going to, those are just kind of seen as the marriage killers. But what really happens is it's these other little things that kind of creep in and they begin to destroy your marriage. And they often lead to the other things.
Sure.
And we can certainly go back 13 years ago and we can pinpoint areas of our ministry that were areas of our marriage that were slowly killing our marriage.
Right.
And these are those things.
Yeah. And I know what you meant when you said our story is infidelity. Our story has infidelity in it. And our story is redemption and restoration. And our story is Jesus. And that is why we're passionate about what we do. That's why we get on here every Monday, even in the crazy busyness of summer with Rusty's job. We want to come to you every single Wednesday. Gosh, we're struggling with our words today. Every single Monday, and say, these are the things that you can do to keep from getting to where we got in our story. Or if you've already been there, or if there's been some other really hard part in your marriage, these are the things that you can do to keep your marriage on track and to keep honoring your spouse and honoring the Lord in your marriage. And so honestly, I'm going to be honest, when we've been talking about we have a whole list of marriage killers. And one of the ones that I've been avoiding is selfishness. I didn't want to talk about it. And the reason why I didn't want to talk about it is because that is definitely my bent. My bent is selfishness. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that a lot of the people that are listening, that might be their bent as well.
So basically you're saying, hey, listen up because you're a professional.
I'm a professional selfishnesser. And so I feel like for the first 15 years of our marriage, I was very selfish. Very selfish.
So I love that you're saying that, and I love that you admit that. And we've talked about it, I think, on some of our podcasts before. When you look and when you say I was selfish, what does that mean?
Well,
what are the things that you did?
Yeah. Okay, so one is I expected your world to revolve around me. I wanted you to make me happy. I wanted what you were about was making me happy, is what I wanted. Like, I wanted that to be your goal, is to make me happy. I mean, I know how bad that sounds. I'm just being honest. And here's the other thing before I continue down that path. I think that a lot of times this one goes unrecognized. I think that most people, including me 15 years ago, was like, I'm not selfish. I'm just Like, this is just part of it. Like,
Yeah.
you do your job.
Well, and I deserve
Yeah.
to be happy.
Yeah.
Like, that's what God wants.
Right.
And
Right. Oh, gosh. Have we heard that? God
Yeah.
wants me to be happy.
Yeah, God wants me to be happy. And, when you get married, it's like I'm marrying you because you make me happy. And
right.
so then the expectation becomes it's a lifetime
Right.
of you making me
That's
happy.
right. And see, that's the thing. When you get married, I mean, I dare say if there's anybody, people don't get married if they don't make each other happy.
Right.
I mean, like, that's the reason why you get happy.
And there's nothing wrong, and there's nothing that's the reason why you get happy.
Yeah.
You get happy and you get married.
That's right. That's right.
But I do want people to know that marriage can make you happy.
Sure.
And it should make you happy. We'll come back to that. So don't let me forget.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay.
come back to that.
Okay. But so that was definitely one of the things, probably the biggest one was I needed you to make me happy. I thought that was your job. It was why you were put on this earth, is to make me happy. Also, have you ever heard somebody say, "Excuse me, your entitlement is showing"? Like, that's what I've felt like. Like, I just felt like I was entitled to you serving me. I know that sounds so
Where
awful,
where does that come from, do you think?
a selfish heart. But I mean, like, you mean more than just a selfish heart? Like, where does it come? I mean, I think a lot of the world publicizes that, and it's a something in movies. And I mean, you even think about the movies that our kids watched or the ones we watched when we were little. There was also always a rescuer, and the knight in shining armor would come, and so as for me, it was just like, that's what the man is supposed to do. And I had a dad that did all the things, I mean, my dad washed my car, my dad, because it was just me and my sister. And so he never made us do the boy things, like I never mowed the grass or anything like that. And so I just expected, like, that's what my husband's going to do too. And so I think that I just had all of these really big expectations of you. And when you didn't meet them, that fed my selfishness. Like, it was like, well, he should be doing this and he's not. And so then I became more entitled and more, like, I remember one time, I don't remember what birthday it was or Mother's Day or whatever, but y'all bought me a button. It came with a card. Maybe it was Mother's Day that said, "Mom, it's all about you," or "Today's all about you," or something. And I felt very worthy of wearing that button. I mean, like, I remember that. And
Yeah, you wore it for the next year every day.
But I just was like, when I think back at things like that, I was like, gosh, I just missed it. Like, I was missing so much of being able to serve y'all and serve other people and get my eyes off of myself and say, God, how do you want to use me today to bless other people? And I missed it. Like, I was waiting for people to bless me. And I mean, I hate that. If that's one thing, like, I'm so thankful for where God's brought us. That's one thing that if I could go back and redo, I missed out on so much opportunity to love other people well and to give other people a correct picture of who Christ is, just because my eyes were on myself. So yeah, I didn't want to talk about selfishness at all, but I think it is a big problem in our marriages, and people we talk to. And honestly, Rusty, it's something that I still have to battle. It's not like 15 years ago, or not 15, 14 years ago almost, that when I fell in love with Jesus and was broken and saw who I was without the Lord for the first time, that this was just magically cured. It's something that I still battle and I still have to fight. I know I've told this example on here before, but it's the most recent one and the one that just stands out a lot. Like, you serve me well, by getting my coffee pot ready for the next morning at night. Like at night, you go in there, you rinse it out from the day before, you put in the fresh grounds, you put in the water, and you set it to come on at 5:30 so that when I wake up, it's ready or it's going. And I can remember not, and you just did that because you loved me. At first, it was like, hey, can I go ahead and get your coffee ready for the next day? Sure, yeah, thank you. And then all of a sudden, it started becoming an expectation. Like, are you not going to, I didn't say this, but in my head, I'm like, I wonder if he's going to go get my coffee ready for tomorrow. And then I remember the morning I woke up and you had forgotten, and I was frustrated. Mm-hmm. And I was like, where in the heck did that come from? Like, you were doing that to love me well and to serve me and to show me how much you loved me, and that was just an easy way you could help my morning go better. And then how did that turn into an expectation? And then how did it turn into me being upset when you forgot? Mm-hmm. Like that, like that was exceedingly selfish of me. And so I checked myself. It was about a 30-second pity party. And then I was like, oh, no, old self. Get away. Get away.
I think part of the story there is I don't drink coffee.
Sure.
Like,
yeah, that's important. I mean, like, and you do that
right,
for me.
And I'm not tooting my horn,
Sure.
but if people are listening, they're like, well, I mean, my husband does that too. And
yeah.
we both drink coffee. I just happen to wake up earlier or whatever. But that's not even the case.
Yeah.
Like I have to, like I never think about making the coffee for the next morning because I drink coffee.
Right.
It's 100%. I'm making your coffee.
That's right.
So, yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, for me, that path of you serving me well, all of a sudden became something that I was really selfish about. And I quit seeing that you did it to serve me. And I only saw it as an expectation and another area for you to fail if you didn't do it. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I meant about sneaky. Like, I think that sometimes people are like, I'm not selfish. I give all day. I cook dinner for them. I clean. Like I do and I do and I do. But how's your heart? Mm-hmm. And that's where I get in trouble, is my heart starts feeling like selfishness with entitlement or deserving, or it's all about me, or why can't you see that this is important to me? I don't know. This is just something I'm just being honest with. I battle it every day. Now, is it as strong? Do I have to battle it as hard? No. But it is the one area that I know I can't slip. Because if I do a little bit, then it gets easier and easier and easier to become selfish. Mm-hmm. And I try not to do that. I know I fail. Gosh, I know I fail. Mm-hmm. But I'm aware of it. And I just ask God on the regular, please keep me humble, keep me centered on you, and to keep my eyes off myself.
I think one thing that people, when we talk about selfishness, we just automatically think about serving.
Right.
Like, I want to, like, if I'm being selfish, then I'm withholding things that serve you. Or if I am a selfless person, then I'm constantly thinking of how to serve you. But I think that being selfish goes even, way beyond that. Communication is affected by selfishness. Mm-hmm. When one or both of you is selfish, communication usually doesn't go well. Mm-hmm. There's not a listening. It's this conversation. I'm listening to this conversation because it's about me, and how am I going to make this about me, and decisions that are made. So you're making decisions about plans or your scheduling or whatever it is, and that becomes what's best for me. Mm-hmm. Not what's best for my spouse or what's best for my family. It's what's best for me. And maybe it's the taking shortcuts on certain things that I'm just going to do this halfway because it's best for me. Mm-hmm. And so it's more than just, I don't know. I feel like sometimes we just think about the selflessness. Like, somebody can look and say, well, you don't do anything to help around the house. You're not serving. it's just so much. It's deeper. It's a lot deeper than that. But I think and you and I were just talking about this before, and we don't necessarily have like this great answer for this, but it feels like the hardest part about the selfish topic that we're talking about is if both spouses are selfless and giving of themselves, then things seem to work well.
Yep.
If both are selfish, then it's going to blow up.
Right.
If one is selfish and the other is not, then we get into this situation where the one that's not selfish looks across at the other one and goes, well, she's not giving or he's not giving, so why am I trying? And then it's like, well, I'm just not going to give anymore because they're not. And then that just creates this vicious cycle that you can't ever get out of.
Right.
And so, I think a lot of people that are listening to this, I would imagine that one spouse or the other is better at this.
Right.
One is better. And so the other one is, this isn't fair.
Yeah.
Like, this is not fair because I'm giving and giving and giving, and I feel like I'm making my spouse happy because I give and give, but they do nothing to give in return. They're not serving in return. And so then it's sort of like, wait a second, but that's selfish, right? To think that way. But then again, it's valid that I can't live like this.
Right. Where you're just pouring out and pouring out and pouring out. Yeah. And I think that I'm going to get to that answer, but also.
Ooh, you have the answer?
No. Oh. But I think that for most marriages, somebody's naturally better at this than the other. I definitely know that this is one of your spiritual gifts. Like, not just serving, but just putting other people before yourself. You do it so naturally. And I see it not just in marriage. Like, I see it, at your work. And your job with Bria. That's all you do all summer is serve these guys. And that takes unbelievable unselfishness. And you do that well. Whereas for me, I can do it, but it just doesn't come as naturally. And so, but what I don't want people to say is, oh, well, that's just, like, I could easily say that's just your gifting.
Yeah,
that's just how good, God made you that way.
Right.
He didn't make me that way.
Yeah.
He made us all with an ability to give and to live unselfishly and to keep our eyes off of ourselves and always keep your eyes on how can I help other people and be unselfish in that way. So back to your question, because I do think that there's probably people listening going, yeah, I'm not so good at that. Or my spouse is way better at that than me. And ta-da, me too. But it doesn't make an excuse for not serving well. So if you are stuck in a pattern with your spouse where you feel like you are, your spouse is very selfish. And like you said, not just in serving, but in the ways that you're treated, in the way that you communicate with each other, all of those things. Because this can even go back to communication. I always made it your fault. Like, I never could make it mine because I was being exceedingly selfish in communication as well. And so even if you look at all the areas of your marriage and you think, gosh, my spouse is really, really selfish and I don't know what else to do because I feel like I'm giving and giving and giving and trying to keep my eyes off myself, and it gets frustrating and I'm ready to quit. All I know is that the number one thing you have to do is just pray that God will reveal that to them. Because honestly, like, once you see it, it's like, ooh, it's ugly. Like, when I saw my selfishness, it was ugly. So, praying that God would reveal that. And then also just see that pray that your spouse can see in you that unselfish heart and the way that you serve well and the way that you talk to them, the way that you communicate with them, all of those things are unselfish, and trying to prioritize them or prioritize your kids, or anything that's going on in your life, and that your spouse can see that and think, I need to be a little bit more like that.
Mm-hmm. Selfishness, I think, is also contagious in a lot of ways. And so, selflessness. Well, probably both. Probably both.
Yeah, but selflessness.
Selflessness. So being unselfish,
yes,
and serving, it can be contagious. And so I think a lot of times when you give and you serve your spouse, it's doing things that's going to make them happy. And as they are happy, then a lot of times, then they want in turn, they want to make you happy.
Right.
Now, I know it doesn't always happen that way.
That's
so
right.
I know some of you are listening and you're like, I give all the time, and they don't.
and I've been doing that for years.
And they're happy as can be, but they don't have to do anything. Right. So I understand that. But there's also this, I think for me, I do like to serve and I like to give, but where I had to learn, even over the past 15 years, was that there was not motivation behind it other than I want to serve you. So, it wasn't a manipulative or, hey, if I do this, then maybe I'll get this in return. And so I think I really do. I mean, the younger us, I think that I served well because that is part of my nature. But I think a lot of times I did things, and maybe it was because you were selfish, and so I thought, well, if I give, then maybe she'll recognize it, and I'll get something in return.
Right.
And so that was always. It's such that's an exhausting thing. It's exhausting to give selflessly with an expectation. And
because those two things don't go together.
They don't, and it takes the joy out of it. And so, and now again, there's things that you do to serve that you don't enjoy doing it, but you're doing it because it makes your spouse happy. And I feel like there's a lot of things, and look, let me just set the record straight that you are not the person that you were. And now you may wrestle with that internally, but I don't see it as much. I mean, there's times when I can feel it. I can feel that there's a struggle and you're struggling with that. But for the most part, you are very giving and self, you're not a selfish person anymore. But when I was younger, I do feel like so much of what I was doing, like even the stuff that I didn't want to do, is like, well, I'm going to do it because maybe it'll make her better. Like maybe it will make her a better person.
Yeah.
Because then it'll require her to have to give something in return. And I just feel like now, there's rarely a time, if I'm doing something that I don't really want to do, but I know it's going to make you happy, it is because I'm like, this is going to make her happy. And that's all I want to, that brings me joy. I think about, Friday. Oh my goodness. Even thinking about everything that I did on Friday, I'm still sore from it all. But I did all this stuff, and I did not have time to do it. That's the big thing. I really didn't have time to do any of it, but it was all stuff. And it wasn't just Friday, because I also spent several hours putting that table and stuff together too. So there were things all along the week, but as I was doing them, I never thought to myself, I better get something good out of this, I just didn't. It was like, I know there's not much else that will make her happier than what I'm doing right now. And so that's why I chose to do all of those things and spend a lot of my day doing that. And none of it I would have done for myself. None of it. There was none of it that I even thought for me was an important thing. It was only for you. And so, but what that did was that made you happy. And because when you're happy, then you're a selfless person. But I think you're a selfless person anyway. It's not like you wait on me to give and give and give, yep. and then you become selfless. So I'm just saying that if you're in this situation, you can't stop, because if you stop and your spouse is selfish, there's no reciprocating. It's not like all of a sudden your selfish spouse is going to go, oh, well, you're selfish, but I'm about to change my ways. And, it just doesn't really work that way. It's the contagious part of it that has to happen. And I think for the biggest thing is that you're recognizing, you're just saying, okay, in a marriage relationship, it's not all about you making me happy. And so if I'm doing my part in the marriage relationship, then I'm here to serve you. Yes, we're companions. We're supposed to enjoy each other, but I am supposed to serve you. That's part of what marriage is. So for those of you who have that tension going on between you and your spouse and you're not on the same page there, my encouragement would be don't stop. Like, don't stop being that servant and being selfless.
Yeah. And one other thing is, when you're thinking about, am I selfish in my marriage, in communication, in serving, and all of those things, do you feel like you sacrifice? If you don't feel like you sacrifice, then you probably aren't serving very well. If you feel like everything always goes your way and you get what you want and you get to do all the things you want to do, then you're probably not serving your spouse very well. Because I remember being kind of confronted with that, with, gosh, I get to go to the gym when I want to. I do, all the things that make me happy, I get to do. And you would stay with the boys while I went and did that, or you would make sure I had this, or and I was like, I don't sacrifice very much. Like, I just accept your sacrifices and allow myself to continue to do the things that I want to do. And there are things that you need to think about, not you, but people listening. Do I sacrifice for my spouse? Like, do I do things that allow them to have something that they desire, or something that's important to them? Even if it hurts, even if it's, frustrating, or even if it's like, gosh, I have to give up this so they can go do that. Do you sacrifice for your spouse? And if not, then your spouse might be doing all the sacrificing.
Yeah.
And so it's just looking at it to where, and this can't be extreme either. Like, if both, no, you go, okay, fine, we both won't go.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to accept your spouse loving you well too. Nobody likes a victim, like, oh, fine, I just won't ever do anything. Well, no, that's not the answer either. Nobody wants to hear that or live with that. And so it's just making sure that you're serving each other well, that you're communicating well with each other, that you listen. I mean, to listen to your spouse when y'all have conversations and talks about things, and don't just make the whole conversation about you. Like, really listen to your spouse's heart and what's going on in their world and what's going on in their mind and in their heart as you listen, and try to, consider your spouse, consider your spouse's heart, consider their feelings, consider their desires, when you communicate and serve.
Well, we just to circle back for just a second, because I said, we want you to be happy. And I believe that God wants us to be happy. And you married your spouse because your spouse made you happy and you wanted to continue in that happiness. And so there's nothing wrong with wanting and desiring to be happy in your marriage. Like, that's natural and that's supposed to be that way. But I believe that happiness comes when both spouses are giving of themselves. Yeah. And as you're giving of yourself, then and your spouse is giving, you can't help but be happy. Yeah. And so, being companions, walking alongside each other, serving each other, and we've heard so many couples, even as they're healing and going through the healing process, they've said that they try to outserve the other people, the other person, and I think that's a great goal, and it's a goal, but not to the extreme of like what you were saying, where it's like, oh no, well, no, I'm going to outserve you. No, I'm serving you. Well, I'm just going to be the doormat, and you just do that kind of thing. So it's not that. It's just, how can I serve, and with the goal of I want to serve better than you did, not because I want you to say how great I am, but I want you to be happy, and I want you to be blessed. And so to outserve the other spouse is a great goal in your relationship.
And don't grow weary. If you're the only one that's unselfish, don't grow weary, because you're honoring the Lord with your actions and your words, and by trying to be an unselfish spouse.
That's right. All right. Good stuff. Well, I hope you guys will practice that this week and be an unselfish spouse, and pray for your spouse. If your spouse is not on board in this area, pray for their heart to be softened.
Yep.
Okay. We'll see you guys next week.
Next time. Peace.
Peace.